Okay, peace and love, my beautiful people. How are y'all doing? Today is Sunday, August 2025. My son is texting me, and I just told him not to text me because I knew it was going to throw me off. But today is Sunday, August 3rd, 2025. I pray that this message reaches you in the best of health, spirit, and mind. I'm doing very well. I was trying to go live. I've tried to go live twice, or two or three times actually, and the signal is just not strong enough where I am over here by the beach. And I didn't want to keep trying to fight with that and then miss the sunset. And thankfully, the sun is breaking through the clouds, as you can see there in the distance. So again, path of least resistance. Like, I'm not going to be fighting with technology. This is contrary to the whole point, right? I came out here to connect with Mother Nature, to see the beauty of, our connection and our relationship with Mother Nature, which is, a reflection of our connection with the Most High. So, and I wanted to share the experience with you guys. So I'll just record it like I normally do. And thank you guys. Thank you to those of you guys who tried to go live with me. And I appreciate, y'all for sticking it out with me, at least for that short amount of time. And pardon me for the technical issues, but I had a feeling that might happen because I'm by the beach. The signals and the cell phone towers in this area are always shaky. We have about, I think, an hour left before as the sun sets. So still good timing, although I wanted to be a little bit further along in the conversation. So I'm here at Manhattan Beach, and as I, walk and we talk, and I obviously, emphasize the beauty of the beach, I also want to emphasize the beauty of the architecture. And this is one of those beautiful homes here along the coastline. I think that's why Manhattan Beach is my favorite. You guys know I'm a sucker for I said sucker, that didn't sound right. It's supposed to be an A, not an ER, right? We just naturally, it's a problem when we hear that ER a little too hard on any word. But I am a softie for architecture. I'm a nerd I'm an architecture nerd. I love the whole building process, and so I'm going to be, showing you guys what the vibe is out here as the sun sets, as I'm walking, and you know what I mean, people watching and tapping in with the frequency and the energy and the soul of the world, as I have been borrowed that from Paulo Coelho, and that concept just resonated with me so much. And that's what is always so, so inspiring and so exciting about doing these walk with me's in these different environments, and being able to, because not just the natural settings, right? The hiking in the hills or walking along the beach, but also the people element. You know what I mean? How people are functioning in these environments. Every beach in the LA area has like a different vibration. And it's so interesting. Hermosa Beach is further down in that direction. And then in the other direction, Dock Wilder. And I saw a sign that said El Segundo Beach. I've never seen that. So that was interesting. But because I don't know if El Segundo has its own beach. But anyway, that's not important. Taking in the frequency and the energy and the beauty of this environment. And to be honest, it's better that I record this anyway, so that when the phone is buffering and doing all of that, we don't have to deal with that in the recording. It's just gonna record it straight through, and then I'll just upload it, so you'll really be able to, experience what I'm experiencing and see what I'm seeing without the interruptions. So it's all good. So as I was saying in the other 2 or 3 videos, I've lost track at this point trying to go live. The beach, referencing it being my happy place, talking about how when I first pulled up on the water, there's this moment when you can, go from just being on a regular road to there is the ocean right there, huge, and you know what I mean, just everywhere, powerful, endless. And it's such a beautiful experience. It's such a humbling experience. It's so, the magnitude of magnitude or abundance, I think I should say. It's just, I really, really, really love being in the beach, and it's been a minute for me, so y'all gotta bear with me. It's a little, you know, not emotional, but I'm just like awestruck. I'm always awestruck by the beauty of God. I'm always awestruck by the beauty of nature and how giving it is, you know? And while so much media coverage and, you know, political conversation and even the anti-black, anti-African, like there's so much lack-based, low vibrational consciousness and energy. And being at the beach and being in these environments reminds me, you know, keeps me centered, keeps me looking at things from God's perspective. What could be more obvious, you know, to speak to God's perspective than being at the beach and watching the sunset and all of the benefits that are, you know, I'm experiencing being here, because the air is heavy on negative ions, and then the kinetic energy of the ocean and the movement of the waves, and then the sun, as you can see my shadow there, the sun penetrating the iris in the eye and the whole sun gazing element. And there's just a lot of electromagnetic energy in this environment, you know, and I'm really thankful and really grateful to be here. This house I love because, now let's just see how big it is. This is one house, yes. They don't always look as big from the front, but then when you can, you know, really sort of see them from the side, that's one house right there. And then that's one house. But I always love this house because they always have really pretty flowers, and it looks like they changed them up. Maybe not changed them up. Maybe I should just say spruced them up. Okay? So you see the abundance. You see how the flowers are smiling at you and winking at you and reminding you that God is love and that you are, you know, magnificent, and that this earth and this planet is magnificent. So, do I have a topic today? Sort of, kind of. I had some notes. I was trying to like read the notes in the beginning when I was sitting down at the park before I started talking. And then everything happened with the technology, and it just really kind of like threw my plans in awry. Another beautiful home there. And I think I recorded the part where I said when I used to frequent this area, I used to walk up and down these hills, up obviously for the incline, and then walking down, I would have a full open view of the ocean. And when the sun is you know, when it's a clear day, no clouds, it's just a really beautiful experience. It's just the marvelous blend of the ingenuity of the human mind with the architecture and the beauty of the creation of the Most High that is just absolutely stunning to me. I love it, you know? One of the things that I was trying to say also in the beginning of the last video is I have, I posted the anti-Africa, anti-black programming video in my membership channel. And I wanted to let you guys know, I sent out a notification on my email list, but that I have a special right now for $50 for an annual membership, not even a membership, annual membership, a pass, a subscription pass to my website. And it cancels after a year. And also for my members who are paying $22 a month, you might want to take advantage of that. I have a couple of those left. And I also opened up my calendar for consultations for one person, and I'm running a super special, which is also going to be, I'll put the information in the description for that. And that specifically is for the rotating 10 or 15 or however many people that are constantly in my DMs or in my email or on my videos, you know what I mean? Telling me about what, you know what I mean, what's going on in their world and how they're struggling and how they're trying to overcome certain things, or, you know, stuck or stagnated in certain regards in their life. I'm opening up my calendar for one person who would like me to assist you in that regard. So that information will be in the description as well. I'm also getting ready to open up a third group of Climbing the Ladder of Yourself, my women's only group, and I already have 2 women signed up for that. So there's 3 spots left in terms of Climbing the Ladder of Yourself. So if you want to get information on that, you can email me info@ZaZaAli.com, and that is going to be launched officially in August. And so, you know, what can you get done in 6 months of zoning in and honing in and having a group of other women that are helping you be accountable to yourself? You know, and really the way we focus on our families, the way we focus on our children, the way we focus on our jobs, to really transmute and pivot in terms of the direction that we, you know, the outpouring of energy, and start to really be intentional about internalizing and alchemizing. It's my favorite word right now. You know, that's why I said alchemizing the, you know, I was thinking about I was actually having a conversation about in the meeting I had earlier today. We were talking about Aristotle, and one of the other Greek philosophers came up in the conversation. And, you know, it dawned on me later on after the call, as I was just kind of going over what we were talking about, you know, that terminology of philosopher, and how, like, important the philosophers of different ages and different cultures, you know, play prominent roles in shaping how people were thinking and, you know, engaging in the world. So yeah, the concept of the Philosopher's Stone, if you've read The Alchemist, or if you've done any studying or any research on the concept of alchemy, the Philosopher's Stone is known as, I hate when people are walking behind me. Hang on, let me just stop for a second. The Philosopher's Stone is known as the substance that the alchemists use in order to transmute base metals into silver and into gold, right? And so that's why I referenced the Philosopher's Stone when I put in, you know, in my caption, like, the point of these conversations, the point of us having these meetings of the mind, is to, you know, tap into the higher frequencies, the higher energies, but to do it while still being mindful and conscientious of what's happening around us and in our world, right? And that's alchemy. Taking difficult situations, negative experiences, negative circumstances in real time, real life, right? And transmuting them and turning it into spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical gold, like the gold that's beaming off the sun right now, sitting in the sky, and beaming off the water and look like little diamonds dancing on the water. So this is the time right now, you know, going what I said about the Climbing the Ladder of Yourself, what I said about the consultations, what I do in my membership channel, and whether you are, you know, honing in and focusing in with me in any of those regards, or whether you're just intentional about doing it for yourself. The stakes are high right now, right? And that's in the collective. I feel like that goes without saying. But then individually, the stakes are high. You know, one of the things we were talking about in the meeting today is how the things that used to work aren't working anymore, and how a lot of us are like hitting a brick wall and not really having the sort of inner sourcing and inner guidance, whereas it would be automatic, but now, you know, that inner knowing and that inner wisdom feels a little stunted, and we're not exactly sure how to move or when to move or what to do. And, you know, it's like uncharted territory. So it's a time of And it's one thing if that's just happening to me, right? Or if that was like an exception to the rule, but this is something that so many people right now are experiencing and have been experiencing, especially post 2020, right? And so when I say the stakes are high on an individual level, I don't mean that like plan for, emergency preparedness, disaster preparedness. Nah, I'm like, heaven is opening up to us. Heaven is open to us. Heaven has always been open to us, but that's, but like the potential and the possibility for what we are capable of and the type of backing that we can get, the ancestral backing, this is what I was saying earlier today. So let me make sense because I feel like I'm not making sense. Our vibrational resonance and our energy is what is determining the experiences that we are having in real time, right? And I know I've said that a lot of different times, myself and so many others, but it's important to keep saying it because it's the truth and because the stakes are higher now, meaning it's harder to maintain frequency. It's harder to find like-minded souls and individuals. It's, seems less likely to have people in our corner that are encouraging us to pursue our passions, to focus on our creativity, to be spiritually focused, to tap in and tune in with the Most High. Look at the beautiful greens. Supporting us to be our true, authentic self, opposed to just what we got to do to get along, to keep it moving, right? And so, in a sense, it can seem like we're swimming upstream. And I know for sure for me in the last 2 years, I've definitely felt like that at different points, like I was swimming upstream, right? But it's still the alchemization process taking place, because the difficulty of those experiences, the extremes of those experiences, once you get centered and surrender and fine tune your frequency to the point where it's like, I don't want to suffer like this, or I don't want to stress like this, or I don't want to over worry like this, or I don't want to overwork like this, or I'm exhausted from being, all over the place, or, whatever your particular thing is, right? I asked the question in the workshop I had earlier today to the ladies, like, what's one thing that you're carrying, that you've consistently been carrying, that you would put down if you could right now? And we all have a thing. For some of us it's a tangible, physical, obvious thing, but for a lot of us, we have to mine, we have to be self-aware and ask those questions, within ourselves, in terms of what's holding me back. Why am I stumbling? Why am I stagnant? Why do I not feel alive? And I'm quoting, Neville Goddard in particular. He did this really powerful lecture where he was talking about aliveness, and how aliveness, feeling ecstatic about life, feeling invigorated about life, when you activate that frequency, it unlocks, and those are my words, not his, but it unlocks, new pathways and new experiences and new miracles and new wins and new clarity. It's another really beautiful, I don't know if I should say home or estate. It is huge, but it is very beautiful. Meanwhile, they got most of us on a hamster wheel where we're working to feel alive. You know what I mean? We're making money to feel alive. We're buying things to feel alive. We're doping ourselves up and drinking to feel alive, and surrounding ourselves with energy vampires and all of that stuff. And most of us are doing it. We aren't even doing it actively, like intentionally. We're on autopilot. And that's what's so dangerous about it. So, whereas before, everybody was kind of getting away with that shit. Being able to get away with just coasting and being on autopilot and not really dealing with your shit. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, the time for that is up. Because people are hitting a wall. So all of those 3 different programs and things that I'm offering is all my offering to assist you guys in that regard. And I'm doing it in a way that is trying to be cost efficient. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to, with me continuously working on myself, continuously fine tuning my frequency, continuously like getting my shit together, surrounding myself with a tribe, you know, in the physical and then spiritually, mentally, emotionally as well, magnifies and furthers that intention. You know what I mean? Like, adds on to the energy of it, adds on to the spirit of it, adds on to the intention of it. I'm also going to be speaking in LA as Soul Folks on Saturday, September 13th. I'm going to be posting a flyer soon. I've been trying to finish that all weekend. But if you are in the LA area, I'm going to have 2 ticket offerings. One is for dinner as well as admission to the event. Have dinner with me and some other beautiful people. Plant-based, healthy, delicious soul food. Vegan, of course, but plant-based. And then the second part of the event is just going to be the lecture open event where I'm going to be presenting my lecture and a couple of other really cool things that I'm looking forward to. So y'all come through and tap in with me Saturday, September 13th at Soul Folks. I will be posting a flyer within the next day or so. I just got to finish the flyer, finish the site, finish all of the specifics and whatnot, and then I will post that. And I'm really excited about it. So one of the things that I was talking about that I had in my notes, if I keep repeating that, you guys, pardon me. I'm, you know, I like to, when I do these videos, I don't just want it to, I want to make a point. You know, I want to leave you with something that helps you to be better than, you know, when we started. So I had some notes and I went through the notes on the first video, and then by the third video, I was like, I'm over all of this. Just threw the notes in my backpack and just, you know what I mean? Turned the camera on. So I'm trying to remember bits and pieces of what I wanted to talk about as we walk. The splintering of consciousness and the current programs that are infiltrating the quote unquote Black community. And when I say that, I'm talking about the African, the Pan-African, the Black conscious, like there's all of these different splinterings of anger and frustration and, you know, boycotting and protesting and banging against the system and like, you know, whatever. This is not a good time to be anti anything. You know, that's a spiritual concept that I know a lot of people are not going to really be able to understand. Let me see, why does my screen look so dark? It's not as dark outside as my screen looks. That's interesting. When I stop talking like that, you guys, because I feel like somebody is listening in on your conversation. And again, the LA is full of NPCs, so I gotta, you know, some weird energy in some places. I love LA. Don't get me wrong. It's like, but I am conscientious that I am in a space that is filled with an endless amount of non-playable characters. So the splintering of consciousness and all of these, they're starting fires in all of these little areas, and people are falling for it. And it's really too easy at this point, in my opinion, because people are falling for a hook, line, and sink. So as the Kabbalion talked about, the beauty and the importance of staying close to the center and not allowing yourself to be energetically pulled in 1,000 different directions. I can think of, at least probably 10 things, if I really just sat down and thought about it, that have happened in the last 5 years that have had me like energetically, kind of all over the place, particularly the pandemic, and particularly the anxiety that I was feeling for a couple of years, when I was finding out that people that I knew or their children had taken that shot, and they're just telling me like, super, you're not even thinking about it, and I'm on the inside like bracing myself. And so, you multiply that times however many experiences that is, and people that I care about, and being conscientious of what's happening in the world, and it's a lot. And a lot of us have, have gotten to a point in the last 2 years from that level of energy that we've, carrying the weight of the people around us, their decisions, carrying the weight of having to, pave your own path or be compliant. A lot of people are still facing that, quiet as kept, but it's output of energy that has not yet been reciprocated. You know what I mean? So it feels like a deficit. It feels like we've been pouring out, we've been alerting, we've been sounding the alarm, we've been studying, we've been teaching, we've been researching, we've been meditating, we've been fasting, praying, trying to get it right, get in alignment, have a consistency in our frequency and vibration. But we're surrounded by people and circumstances that are not meeting us there. You know what I mean? So it's like this ongoing energetic deficit. We got to be conscientious of that. The spiritual kung fu, that's why I've been using that terminology, because we're in a spiritual war. In the conversation about Africa being the at the forefront of the economic movement, you know what I mean? In the days moving forward, like we could get into the depths of that specific thing, and I did get into that in the other video that I did, but is Africa going to be, or expected, or even considered to be a spiritual powerhouse in the global arena? Like spiritual leadership? No. And I'm not saying that as, not in a like cocky or arrogant way or anything like that. We in a spiritual war. I told you guys I was going to be kind of a little all over the place with this, because I just did a video and talked about this, the anti-black sentiment that sparked this whole boycott, the Africans online talking about, you know what I mean? And obviously just the people that we're seeing online. I know this isn't all of Africa, and I don't want to paint with too broad of a brush, but it is in alignment with something that I've been observing and noticing, like this real strong anti-black sentiment. We deal with enough of that shit from white America. You know what I mean? But there's an anti-African sentiment in black culture as well that has been growing and matriculating for some time now. And those of you guys that are in that frequency, with every action there is an equal or opposite reaction. What I'm saying is now is not the time to be anti anything. Because it's all intentional. The game is intentional. The intention is to splinter your consciousness and have you focused in all these different directions, so you're not tuned in with the Most High God within. Because that's the key. You talk about putting on the armor of God. You got to fashion that. You got to design that. You got to create that. You have to embody that. And it takes time. It takes internal reflection. How you doing? You can't pop a pill. Just like with herbs, you take a Tylenol and you'll get an instant result. It might not last long, but it's an instant result. You take sea moss and bladderwhack, let's say for instance, you're not going to see you're not going to feel any instant results. I mean, you might, depending on how you live. If you're a healthy person, it's going to take a little bit of time for those herbs and the continuity of taking them to really kind of matriculate and have an impact on your, the cells and the oxygen in the body and the overall benefit of taking sea moss. It takes time. Really a minimum of 30 days. And then beyond that, like, it's a lifestyle. There has to be a continuity, How many people are intentionally like focused and disciplined in that regard? Because it's mandatory now, I want to pull up on this, not pull up, but stop right here so I can really kind of give you guys a good view of a far away view of the beautiful homes and the architecture that line this wonderful beach. And down further in the distance is Hermosa Beach. Maybe we'll do a walk with me. Pardon me if my hand is not steady. So we're talking about miles and miles and miles and miles of just abundance and wealth and beautiful architecture. And, 5,000, 10,000 square foot homes and human ingenuity. Ain't nothing stopping us from building our own world and adding unto all of this. That's the vibe, that's the abundance vibe, right? So, man, I'm mad that first live didn't. I'm not mad, but I was like on a roll. I think I talked to myself for like 5 or 7 minutes and didn't realize my mic was muted. That, when we talk about alchemizing the circumstances of, let's say, the darkness in the world, which seems to be, really kind of, like I say, Satan came from behind the curtains in 2020 and has remained behind the curtains since 2020. And it feels like, to me, is getting more and more sort of bold as each day passes, us being able to still radiate the light and still be beautiful human beings and add beautiful, energy and value into the collective consciousness is really critical right now. I feel like sometimes when I'm talking about this stuff, it might not stick to the ribs, because it didn't stick to the ribs for me for a long time, to be honest, until I didn't have any other choice but to submit and to figure it out in the surrendering phase, which is what has happened to me over the course of the last 2 years. So, wow, look at that. This site's so beautiful. It makes me feel like I need to be quiet and just let Mother Nature do the talking and listen to the frequency and the waves in the background. Wow. Like, just wow. Breathtaking. I don't know where I'm eventually gonna like settle down and live, but wherever I settle down and live is going to have a beach in a close proximity. It's mandatory for me at this point. beach and or, hang on, let me get my camera hand together here. Let's switch hands from my left to my right. So maybe I can get a little bit more steady here. Wherever I end up moving is gonna have to have a beach. I have to be close to the water, but I also need to be close to the mountains. So I'm waiting on God to give me a sign and give me the thumbs up on where exactly that is. I'm gonna have to go out and do some exploring to figure that out. But I mean, how beautiful is God? How blessed are we? You know, it's this. People say, oh, it's just a simulation. None of it's real. Like, bro, I feel, you know what I mean? I feel like real, extreme, powerful love right now. I feel connected. I feel rooted. I feel excited. I feel inspired. I feel, you know what I mean? I feel tapped in with the harmony, with the rhythm, with the energy. You know what I mean? Like, I think these, you know, I get it. I understand the point, the holographic universe, and it's all energy and all of that. But like, yeah, we came here to dance. We came here to, I was going to say eat steak, but you know, I don't eat steak. I don't eat meat. I had a flashback to the Matrix. And so I thought about the guy who was, you know, he wanted to take the red pill so he could eat the meat and mix it up with the girl in the red dress. Right. But I'm just saying, you know, healthy, a nice plant-based vegan soul food meal then. You know, that's why you guys should come to my event on September 13th. But I'm talking about enjoying the delicacies of life. I'm talking about creating the delicacies of life. I'm talking about adding beauty and adding value to this existence. And if we all were moving in that accord, this would be a totally different situation on the ground here. So for me, for us, you know, again, going back to the anti-black, anti-African sentiment, like I don't got time for none of that shit. I'm trying to tap in with the 5% of the 5% in America, and black people in particular. Numero uno, obviously, you got to start with home. And because of the prophecy and because of the role and the responsibility, which I feel like everybody should be clear on at this point, who is the most prepared to lead the world in terms of spiritually to help us come back to the center. Yeah, I think it's, you know, I ain't saying that like it's a flex. It's a hell of a responsibility that we as a people don't seem to want to stand up to. So factor that into the equation, you know. But the 5% of the 5% of Africans, and mind you, what's the population of total population of Africa? The sun is dipped down behind the clouds. Hopefully, as we continue to walk, it'll show its beautiful face again. But what is Africa? 2 billion? 5% of 5% of 2 billion? 5% of 5% of us here in America? 5% of the 5% in Mexico? In, you know what I mean? Like all over the world, this is a frequency game right now. It always has been, but the stakes are highest as far as anything that we've known in modern history. And we need to get on the field. And getting on the field means sharpening your spiritual sword, sharpening your physical body, sharpening your emotional, you know, aura, your emotional body, your emotional vantage point and perspective, sharpening and fine-tuning your willpower so that you're not out here submitting to your lower nature and picking up wooden nickels at every turn. That's specifically for the brothers, you know, females as well, but I'm just saying. They're way more intentional about trying to take you off your square using the sexual energy because it's effective, you know? So being on our toes mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically, but not like on some crack the whip, you know, emergency disaster preparedness, the world is ending. Nah, that's the frequency they want you on. Like, nah, we're on we see what you're doing, we see what you're trying, and yet here we are manifesting the kingdom of the Most High through the way that we live, the way that we think, the way that we eat, the way that we breathe. I gotta walk up this little incline here. and I don't want to start, huffing and puffing. So just bear with me for a second. Switch hands. Stop letting people play games with you guys' minds. Keeping you guys on this hamster wheel, this perpetuating hamster wheel of fires and disasters and beef and drama and then going back to that point, if it's all a simulation or it's all a game, like, are you playing the game you want to play? Are you winning at the game you're playing? It's like I said in the video yesterday, we talk about English being a bastard language, but have you mastered it yet, though? We talk about how underwhelmed and how simple-minded this so-called advanced society is, and how it's so, kind of spiritually beneath the ancestors and the ancient customs and traditions. But are we actually like living in alignment with how they were actually living and operating in the world? Bar's too low. Bar is too low, meaning you're supposed to be experiencing way more well-being, way more happy moments, way more excitement, way more passion, way more creativity, And then
I gave 400 back. They're like, well.
And I feel like that's what the beach reminds me of every time I come out here. Every time I'm able to, experience all of this beauty, all of this abundance. It's like, yeah, there's a lot more living to do. There's a lot more places to explore. And a lot more time to just sit and do nothing and be with ourselves and just be quiet and be still, As I was trying to get this video live, I was like starting to get a little flustered and a little frustrated. I drove 50 minutes to get over here to this beach. I'm going to have to drive. It's not going to be 50 minutes because there shouldn't be any traffic, but still, it's not like right up the street. I kind of had it all mapped out in my mind in terms of what I want to talk about and all of that. And so I started feeling flustered, and I was just like, nah, hold on, stop. This is not the frequency. This is not the vibration I'm trying to be on right now. Let me just stop. End the live, take a couple of breaths, put the notebook back in the backpack. Let's just, let me just turn this camera on and do this the way I normally do it and follow the path of least resistance. And that's kind of like a marker, if you will, for when you get stuck or when you're not exactly sure how to go or where to go or what to do next, which a lot of us are finding ourselves right now because we're unfulfilled with the things of this world. That's the time to stop. That's the time to be still. That's the time to really tap in with your inner being in the Most High so you can get the download and the instructions. And I get the downloads and the instructions when I'm at the beach. So that's why for me to stop and be mindful and conscientious of how I'm thinking and feeling, because I didn't come here to be in that space. I came here to get the download and to share it with you guys. Mother Nature will talk to you if you listen. The waves will talk to you if you listen. The stillness and the beauty of the flowers and the trees and the grass and how it blows and how it, lives and then dies, and everything happens in that one space, but it's like a whole full-blown miracle. Like this bush right here. Part of the plant is clearly dead, and the rest of the plant is clearly flourishing, right? But those leaves that are dead are going to fall away and go back into the soil and create new life. But it's all happening. It's like a whole miracle science happening right here, and we're just walking past like it's not even a big deal. And it's not, but it is. Because I want to tap in with that mind. I want to connect with that mind. I wanted that level of creativity, that level of audacity. The audacity You know, to have a ball in this of matter in the sky that materialized from energy and consciousness and frequency, and you know what I mean? The audacity of it all. The audacity for the sun to be a ball of fire just sitting up in the sky, making things grow and keeping things warm. And smile, you're on camera. You're on camera too. So you see how large these homes are. It goes the whole block here. It's probably maybe 10,000 square feet, I think. 3 levels. Probably got a basement too. Whoever designed that property did not have any limitations in mind. You know? I'm gonna stop when I get to a next bench and land this plane, as they say, so I can take a minute to just sit and, you know, sit still with myself and appreciate the beauty of this environment. I don't feel like I said what I really wanted to say today, but that's okay. I don't feel like I made the point that I really wanted to make. I wanted to like make the conversation count. You know what I mean? Have value and have something that you can take with you and build on and grow, and maybe it'll be that. I don't know, but I feel good about it. Okay. The sun just disappeared.
And she was super depressed.
Her shirt said "Descendants of Zombies." Is that a group or something? Or is that you know what I mean? Is that the title you want to take, or that hopefully that's like a rock band or something? Descendants of Zombies. Okay. Sit myself down. Right here in front of some lavender too. I'll take that. So I'm at the 47-minute mark. I'm really hoping I wasn't rambling and that I was clear and making some sort of point, even if it was just to share the beauty of this environment and this day and this moment in time with you guys. I'm so grateful for my life. I'm so grateful for my mind. I'm so grateful for my health. I'm so grateful where I am in my perspective right now and the clarity that I have and the path and the trajectory that I'm on. I'm so grateful for the creation of this book, and it's finally being like, I've been trying to like cut the cord, you know, the umbilical cord, so to speak, for a minute now, and it's finally at the stage where I can cut the umbilical cord. And what was started out as 2 very large books have boiled down to 3 different books, all sort of unique in their own right. But man, I'm so excited. I can't wait for like the world to really, really, you know, I know it's coming. It's happening. It's unfolding. And I'm just working to, you know, clean up my energy, to clean up my mindset, to be focused, to be disciplined, to strengthen my willpower, to put out the bat signal, so to speak, out into the universe for my soul tribe, the people who, you know what I mean, can match the frequency and the intention and the alignment in terms of the being servants to the Most High. And when I say being servants to the Most High, I mean also to include manifesting our highest and best selves, the best possible scenario, the best possible lives, the best possible relationships, homes, cars, etc., friendships in all walks of life, all of that good stuff. Why not? was going to try to record a meditation video for my membership channel, but I wanted to get closer to the water. But yeah, that's not happening. By the time I get all the way down there, it'll be almost dark and then I have to walk back through the sand. And yeah, it's not happening. Another day. So I'm going to leave you guys there. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully you stayed for the duration of this video. Hopefully I said something and offered something up that will help you get clarity or continue. You know, I don't ever think that all the people listening to me are like going through it or spazzing out or stressed out or depressed. Like, hell no. I know I have plenty of people that listen to me that are on the up and up in their trajectory and in leveling themselves up. That's my tribe. You know what I mean? So I know I'm as I address certain things, I don't ever want to make it seem like I just think everybody listening to me is in despair. Like, nah, the kingdom of God is being formed and manifested through the minds and the willpower and the resilience and the inner reflection of the chosen ones. And the chosen ones choose themselves, you know? So I'm trying to figure, I think the sun is over there, even though it seemed like it was over there at first. I don't know if it's going to break through the clouds, but it's getting a little cold. So thank you guys for tuning in, for tapping in. And I hope you have a wonderful evening and I hope you have a wonderful week. All of the information for all the stuff I talked about is going to be in the description if you're interested in joining me and you know what I mean? Allowing me to assist you in transmuting whatever needs to be transmuted for you to get to the next level of yourself, or to just have community, or to just have a sounding board to help you, you know, in the process. All right? So I'm going to tap out, tap out, clock out there, and I will see you beautiful people very, very soon. And thank you to you guys that tried to join me in the original live. All right? Peace and love.